The world's a dangerous place. Get the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. A laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email Tom at guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, welcome back to Gun Talk. It is, of course, another day where we get together and we talk about guns and shooting and the fun stuff and collecting and just about anything that has to do with guns, as long as we talk about doing it safely and responsibly. And that always includes training. People always ask me, what gun should I get? And usually my answer is probably you don't need a gun right now. What you need is more training. It's always fun to get to talk to somebody who really knows this stuff. And when you talk to experienced trainers around the country, there's a name that keeps popping up. It's Tom Givens. I think of Tom as almost the Yoda of firearms training, because, Tom, you have been around doing this so long, you probably have literally forgotten more than a lot of us know. Tom, what's the most important thing, or maybe switch it around, what is the most misunderstood aspect of carrying a gun for self-defense? Well, having trained an awful lot of people over the decades, the recurring problem I see, the biggest issue I see, is getting them to overcome their lifetime of cultural indoctrination as victims and get them to understand they actually have to carry their gun pretty religiously. You've got to carry it on a routine, daily basis, because you simply can't make an appointment for emergencies. The whole idea here is to be able to respond to a sudden, unforeseen crisis. Key words being sudden and unforeseen. You can't go get a gun once the flag flies. You mentioned that I've had well over 60 students involved in fights. All but 3 of them won. 62 out of 65 won their fights. That to me is an indicator we're doing something right. But we had 3 that were killed. But guess what those 3 had in common? They didn't have a gun. They didn't have a gun. Right. Every single one of our students who was armed won their fight. But the 3 out of 3 who weren't armed were killed. And I might point out they were all killed in separate street robberies, and they were all killed after having complied with the robbers. In the last case, the guy handed over his wallet and his cell phone and was standing there with his hands in the air when one of the offenders shot him in the face and killed him. So the whole deal of where people say, well, just give them what they want and they'll leave you alone. The problem with that is you're waiting to see if he's going to kill you, and if he kills you, you can't stop him from killing you. Oh, it's too late. Or as I like to say, people say give him what he wants, but what if what he actually wants today is to kill you? Right. That was the case here. Of course, they were caught, and when they interviewed later, the guy said, I've got a miserable life. I wanted his family to have a miserable life. So he basically just shot the guy because he's pissed at the world. Wow. Obviously, when we're carrying, we're reacting. We're always reacting. And I love the part where you talk about people keep saying, well, the guy just appeared out of nowhere. I never saw him coming. He was just right there. What does that tell us? He beamed down out of the mothership, Yeah. It tells us that the guy's going around in that little bubble that encases the typical person nowadays. They got their head down, looking at your cell phone, shuffling around, unaware of what's going on around them. Actually, the guy didn't materialize next to you. He got out of that ragged old car over there and walked about 20 feet over here with a pistol in his hand. But you didn't see him because you had your head in the wrong place. We know where the head was, right? Yeah, we do. You got to get your head up, open your eyes, and look around and see what's going on. All of these things have clear manifestations if you just open your eyes and look. They don't beam down out of the ship. They've got to approach you. They've got to observe you. They've got to approach you. They've got to set up. And they can't do those things if you got your head up and you're paying attention. One of the reasons our guys win their fights so often is that they're not reacting to the guy poking them in the ribs with a pistol. They're reacting to the guy approaching them and going for a gun. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we've learned so much in the training we do, and I've been through a number of the gun sight classes in various schools, but also doing this first-person offender show and just watching how things develop. It's really interesting when you're not in the scenario, when you're watching it, a lot of times you learn more. And one of the takeaways is don't let them get so close.
Right. Got to get past being so afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. I've shut off a number of things over my lifetime by just making eye contact early with somebody and saying, what can I do for you, or something of that nature before they're right in your face, before they're a step away or two steps away. And don't be shy about telling somebody, I can't help you. When somebody is dressed like a thug, acts like a thug, and looks like a thug, you're probably pretty well off to assume that's a thug.
At the very least, he doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt in terms of your safety. You just say, okay, I'm going to have to assume that this person...
Right, when your personal safety or your family safety is at stake.
That's it.
So you got to get to the point where you can say to people, no, hey man, no, I can't help you. Mm-hmm. Do you know what time it is? No. Can you tell me where to get? No. Can you give me? No. The answer to everything is no, because every yes is a small compliance on your part. What they're doing is getting you to comply to this, and then the man goes up a little bit, and you comply to that, and it's a very quick slope down to, now give me all your stuff.
And people will say, well, you didn't have to be so mean to him. You were just rude.
Mm-hmm. So?
I love that. So I don't, and I keep telling people, I said, our fear of being embarrassed or of embarrassing someone else can get you killed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would rather be a little abrupt to some clown I don't even know and don't care about than have to shoot him.
Yeah. Question for you. Given your study and the number of shots fired and all of that, one of the things that I got from reading your work is that this whole deal of, movie type, one shot, guys fall down, average number of shots is still running in that 3 to 4 range to stop a bad guy, is it not?
Yeah, but one of the things I caution people about, you got to be really careful about using averages.
Right.
Averages don't mean squat. If you've got 1 foot on a campfire and 1 foot on a block of ice, on average, you're comfy. But so averages don't really tell us anything. If you take 2 shootings involving my students, for instance, I use this as a good example for that word because I hate people using averages for this.
Okay.
We had one that involved 1 round at 22 yards. We had a shooting that involved 11 rounds at 4 yards. If you average those, it's 6 rounds at 13 yards, which doesn't even come close to describing either one of the incidents.
Right, it doesn't really tell you anything.
It doesn't tell you a thing. Off the top of my head, I can think of several of our students that have fired 8, 10, 11, and 12 rounds in fights, in private citizen self-defense shootings, fully justified. Mm-hmm. And kind of hard to do that with a 5-shot gun. People tell me all the time, well, the average number of shots fired is 3, so my 5-shot gun's enough. Well, you may not be in an average fight.
Well, that's it. What if your fight isn't average? Well, that's interesting you say that, because I personally, just what I carry, in the last couple of years have moved from a single stack 7, 8, 9 round gun to a double stack 9 just for that very reason.
Yeah, me too. I carried a 1911 45 for decades, about 10 years ago switched to a Glock 35 because I got twice as many BBs in exactly the same size envelope.
There you go. To the point of the 1 shot at 22 yards, I mean, you do most of your training up close because that's where you're most likely to need it, but you don't limit it to that, right?
No, we make sure we can hit out to about 25 yards. Is that common? No, but I've had 3 students in the last 5 or 6 years had to engage at 15, 17, and 22 yards. If you're the one caught in, the one that had to shoot at 22 yards, sitting in the chair in my office, and you could see the light bulb come on over his head when he was telling me about this. He said, when I had to shoot that guy all the way across the street, it never occurred to me that I was a statistical exception. I just had to deal with it. And that's one of the smartest things I've ever heard from a student. Also, I checked that guy's records. He had been to the range to practice 9 times in the 12 months prior to that shooting. I suspect that had a little impact on the outcome.
Talk about that for just a second, because people, oh God, I hardly even want to go down this. Well, I've taken my concealed carry class. Right. Okay. Well, that's good, but and it really irritates. I don't know why, but it really ticks off a lot of instructors when I say, that's not really training. And they said, well, it is too. I teach. They said, no, I'm telling you, a concealed carry class is really not training.
No, it's not. It's checking the bureaucratic box is all it is. You've been to the class, check, okay, here's your permit. It doesn't prepare them mentally or physically for the realities of an actual fight. In the first place, especially if they're new, they don't retain more than 30 to 40% of the information that's presented in say it's an 8-hour class. That's not much information if you're retaining 30 or 40% of what's not a great deal to start with. There's no way, a typical permit class, you'll fire somewhere between 50 and 100 rounds. There's no way you're going to build any kind of familiarity or the ability to retain that skill in 50 to 100 rounds. You're kidding yourself. You take that permit class, don't touch that pistol for 3 years, and then need it, you're not going to be much better off than somebody who's never shot one.
One of the ways I describe it, I'm telling people they say, well, how often should I practice? I say, well, I don't know, but your gun in your hand should feel as familiar to you as the stick shift in your car.
Yeah. People drive cars every single day of their lives, so they build up familiarity with it, so when they need to change lanes, they don't have to think about how much do I need to turn the wheel? No, now I need to overcorrect. No, okay, now it's settling down, because they drive the car every day. When they first start driving, they had to go through the process I just described. They had to calculate how much to turn the wheel. They typically oversteer. They have to correct. If they've been driving a while, they look at the lane they want to go into, and the car goes there. It's not because of magic. It's because they're subliminally moving the wheel.
Let's take that example and go a little bit further with it. You can drive your car and have a conversation and, sip on a drink and, hopefully not text. I hope you're not doing that. But where you want to go with your shooting is you need to be able to completely operate that firearm in any form that's necessary while you are doing other things, which would be moving and communicating or talking to someone or grabbing a loved one and getting them out of the way. The firearm manipulation should be so automatic you don't even think about it.
Yeah, ideally that would be the case. You want to be able to, at minimum, process information and make decisions while operating equipment at the same time.
Tom, how do people get involved? I'm just going to tell people right up front, if you get a chance to go train with Tom Givens, you need to do this, because I wasn't kidding when I say you are one of the masters at this. And so how do people get involved? How do they find your classes? Well,
our website is Rangemaster.com. It's pretty simple. There's a calendar of training events and a lot of other information. Our monthly newsletters there, and the old ones are archived back for a number of years. So there's a wealth of information there.
So is the monthly newsletter, do they have to pay to sign up for that?
No, everything's free. You can just go to the website and access it, or you can get on our mailing list, and we'll send you a little notice every month when it comes out. But it's right there on the website. All you got to do is go to publications and click on newsletter.
It's Rangemaster.com, and you can get there. But if you want to do yourself a favor, and people say, well, I don't really have a good school near me. Well, you know what? Check it out, because you may be bringing your school to someplace near them.
Oh, yeah. We've got over 30 road shows this year, literally all over the country.
Well, Tom, I appreciate it. I wish we had 2 hours, because I would just love to sit and talk with you and pick your brain. Tell you what, let's do it again.
Give me a call anytime.
We'll do it.
Your guns are hungry, really hungry. They crave lead. They feast on recoil. They were born with a gluttonous appetite for speed and accuracy. Centerfire, rimfire, shotguns. They all need to eat. Let the feeding frenzy begin. Aguila Ammunition. Feed your firearm.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have GUNDEALIO, the free app for your smartphone. GUNDEALIO delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get GUNDEALIO. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with GUNDEALIO. GUNDEALIO.com.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Hi, this is Tom Gresham from GUNTALK. America is losing critical wildlife habitat at a rate of 1 football field every hour. It's happening on the Louisiana coast. but it's critical to all sportsmen and conservationists. These precious wetlands provide winter habitat for more than 10 million ducks and geese annually, waterfowl that migrate north through dozens of states. Don't shrug it off. Get involved. You can help. Visit vanishingparadise.org.
What makes a legacy? Is it quality? Craftsmanship? Maybe it's the idea that every American deserves their right to security and peace of mind on and off the battlefield. What makes a legacy? Here at Colt, we're making it every day. Colt, built one at a time, proven every round.
I do so like talking with trainers. They think a little bit differently than a lot of people. They analyze things. They look at things and say, okay, how do we make this better? How can I teach this better? Where are the failure points? We talk to somebody like Tom Gibbons, who's been doing it for so long. You'd like to just sit down and pick his brain. Going to classes, how important is that? Well, had a weird thing happen yesterday. I was flying to Florida, stopped for gas in Lakeland, Florida, actually. And I'm in it's called an FBO. It's basically the gas station for small airplanes. And a guy walks through the door and went, Hank? You're Tom? Yeah. It's a fellow I know, without giving away too much. He's known as Generally. And what he's done with airplanes and jets is pretty spectacular. Anyway, we get to talking. And I actually wearing a gun sight jacket. He says, oh, gun sight. He says, yeah. He says, I've been to 6 classes there. Pistol, carbine, shotgun, edge weapons. It's as much a mindset and a way of life as it is anything else. And a lot of people, they don't want to do that. They don't want to change anything. They want to change nothing in their lives but suddenly be safer. I don't want to actually have to work at anything, but I want to be better. I want to be better at all this, but I'm not willing to put in any time, not willing to put in any work, physical work, and I'm certainly not willing to put in any money. Okay, I think there's something about the definition of insanity wrapped around in that somewhere. And then there are other people who get it. And I will tell you, the one way you get it, and it's always fun, and I talk about this because it's just so obvious when we do the first-person defender shows. People go through a scenario and just get their butts handed to them by the bad guy. Then they get a little bit of training. I'm talking about a little bit of training. We're talking 30 to 45 minutes at the range. We teach them up on a little bit, and then they go back and do a similar scenario, and all of a sudden, it's like they're just blowing right through it. And you go, this is great. And they all come away with the same thing. Every one of them, I am going to go get training. Yeah. To my point is the way that you find out how much you benefit from training is to get training. It's the, chicken and the egg thing. How do I get people to take training so they will learn that they need to take training? I don't know. I just keep throwing it out there, but I'm just telling you, there are not many things in life, honestly. And people will promise a lot of things, but there are not many things in life where I can say, this will absolutely change your life. But a really good self-defense course can, if done correctly. If you apply yourself, if you go, okay, now I get it. The shooting, the reloading, all the rest of that are important skills, but what you're really picking up is the mindset. It's a lifestyle change. How you dress, where you go. Listen to this. Where you go. If you think there could be bad things happening there, don't be there. Don't go there. Don't let your family. Yeah, no, Dad, it's okay. It's okay there because they've got security there, really. Yeah, it's okay. I've got my cell phone with me. Yeah, that's going to help a lot. Oh, man. It's thinking ahead. It's planning ahead. It's being aware. It's making decisions. It's changing where you go and what you do and how you dress and what you carry and how you carry and your commitment. It's a commitment thing. It's, do I care enough? Maybe that's it. Do I care enough? Do I care enough to go beyond, yeah, I got my concealed carry permit. Okay, great. That's good. That's like putting the ante into the game, but you're not really playing the game yet. Now you got to get involved. Now you got to go get some real training, and you got to practice, and you got to practice, and you got to practice. By the way, real practice, it's interesting. Now, you can't practice the right things. First of all, get that right. You can't practice the right things if you haven't had any training because you don't know what to practice. And let me just tell you this. If you don't have any real training in this, almost everything you know about this is wrong. Huh? Well, because, what do they say? Nature abhors a vacuum, right? Your vacuum is self-defense training, self-defense action, self-defense with a firearm. So if that's your vacuum, it gets filled with something. And guess what it gets filled with? TV and movies. What you see in the movies, what you see on TV about self-defense with guns and police officers and bad guys and military and everybody else is wrong. Almost universally. Now, there are a few that are good. If you watch Black Hawk Down, they did a real good job with that one. But almost everything else is wrong. How you move, where you go into a building, how you function. Question for you. Walk up to a door in a house that you don't know or a building you don't know. Does the door open inward or outward? You can know that just by looking at it. If you don't know that, it means you haven't had any training. Simple. If you can see the hinges, the door opens toward you. If you can't see the hinges, it opens the other way. Why does that matter? Because then it determines how you open the door, how you go into the door, and what you do with your firearm. Training. The practice is important, but you have to know what to practice. The question I'm asking you is real simple. Are you willing to commit? 866-TALK-GUN. Let me know.
Check out our FAQs at GUNTALK.com or email us your question or concern to Tom@GUNTALK.com. Now back to Tom, a Washington Times opinion page regular contributor.
Oh, yeah. Man, we have so many interesting people that we get to talk with and get to communicate with. I just want to do a quick shout out to the Moron Brothers. No, I'm not making fun of them. They that's what they call themselves, the Moron Brothers. They listen to Gun Talk up in Kentucky. If you want a real treat, go on YouTube and look up Hillbilly Houseboat. Not kidding you. I dare you to watch it and not laugh. These guys are outrageously funny. The Moron Brothers and their Hillbilly Houseboat. It was a hoot. Let's go straight to the phones. Line 3, Steen's with us out of Laurel, Mississippi. Steen, what are you carrying?
Well, I've got several pistols, Tom, and the smallest being a 32.
Mm-hmm.
And for self-defense, what type bullet should I shoot in that small of a gun? I normally carry, a 9. I've got a 357, but I do keep a 32 in my trunk of all places in case I'm changing a flat or something. It's right there. But hollow point, solid bullet, what?
I would say always a hollow point or some type of expanding bullet. Here's the thing. With a 32, you need everything you can get out of it. You need everything that can help you stop an attacker because you're using, and you know the drill because you have other guns. It's a marginal caliber. It's better. It's a whole lot better than nothing. I mean, it's infinitely better than nothing, but a solid bullet is not going to give you much tissue damage, and it is tissue damage that stops the bad guy. For those who don't know, who haven't studied this, there are essentially 2 ways that a gunshot wound can stop an attacker. One is to hit the central nervous system, and drop them that way, which is brain or spine. The other way is what they call insanguination, which is a really nice way of saying they bleed to death. Or it doesn't matter if they bleed to death. We're not trying to cause anybody's death, but you drop the blood pressure enough to where they fall down and quit fighting. You want all you can get in terms of very speedy results from this, because this guy or gal is trying to hurt you. So in this case, I would say go with some type of hollow point, some kind of expanding bullet. People will say, well, it may not expand. Okay, fine. But I know a solid's not going to expand. So at least give it a fighting chance. So I would use the highest velocity hollow point I could get in that and use that gun to fight your way to the bigger gun you should not have put down in the first place.
Correct. All right. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate
All right.
it.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. That's always the line they say, the handgun is what you use to fight your way to the rifle you shouldn't have put down in the first place. I get that. Line 2, Donald's with us, Houston, Texas. Hey, Donald.
Hi, Tom. I was wondering who you would recommend as a training instructor around my area.
Okay. I don't really know who is teaching in Houston. There probably are some good ones. But there is a guy who is world-class who's not a real far drive north of you. Let me get this information for you. His name is Paul Howe. He's up in the, let me think, where's Nacogdoches, Texas area. So that's probably an hour and a half drive north of you, something like that. Let me tell you who Paul Howe is. Did you ever read the book or see the movie Black Hawk Down?
Absolutely.
Paul was the guy. He was there. He was in the middle of that deal. So when Paul Howe wants to teach something about security and safety and tactics and technique, it's worth an hour and a half drive. His website.
He's been there, done that.
Yeah. His website is combatshootingandtactics.com. Just like that. All spelled out. Combatshootingandtactics.com. Or you can also just do an internet search for Paul Howe, Howe. It's incredible that you have such a resource not too far up the road from you where you could go get truly this kind of world-class training. He does teach military and law enforcement, but he also teaches the rest of us. And let me just say, I've never trained with Paul. I would love to do that. But there are just certain people that word gets around. I know people who have shot with him, who have trained with him, and I respect their opinions. And when they say he's the real deal, man, I am all over it. Also, he has it looks like a pretty nice video they did with the Pantail guys, and they make really good videos also. So, but that's the one that I know that's within driving distance of you. There may be some really good instructors directly right there in the Houston area. But because I'm not there, I don't know who they are. Okay, I'm not trying to overlook anybody. I just don't happen to know them.
Right. Okay, well, I really appreciate it, Tom.
Let me ask you something, Donald. Are you looking for rifle, handgun training? What are you looking for?
Well, to begin with, handgun. I would love to do rifle and shotgun eventually, too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Handgun to begin with.
Start off with the handgun, because what you're going to get in that is you're going to get the handgun manipulation all, but what you're really going to get is the whole mindset of self-defense with a firearm. Those things apply whether you're using a handgun, a shotgun, a rifle, or whatever it is. It's the same thing. It's getting into the fight or getting out of the fight, as the case may be, getting yourself to cover, how do you shoot behind cover, and then the rest of it is just physical manipulation of the tool. And there are some different techniques for like shooting from behind cover with a rifle that, and let me tell you, a carbine course, the AR-15 carbine course is just tons of fun. And after you do that, I would just tell you, after you've had an AR-15 self-defense class, you will forever think of the handgun as something you carry only because that's what you have to carry, because you can't carry your AR, but anywhere else you would want to have an AR handy. It is such a fabulous tool. Because you can fight at 2 feet and you can fight at 200 yards if you have to.
Right. Yeah, I'd love to have the time and money to take a trip to take one of Pat Rogers' carbine courses, but
yeah, buddy.
I do not have either right now.
I tell you the other thing, I don't know if you heard the interview with Tom Gibbons a little while ago, but check out Rangemaster.com. They take their act on the road. They travel. And, some of these other trainers also travel. So there may be one coming to Houston, not based there, but one of those guys may be coming there. Also check out, I'm sure there are some groups in the area, shooting groups, maybe online. You could ask around. They're going to know about it, all right? Listen, I wish you luck with it. All right, 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here to Gun Talk. I'm Tom Gresham. Be right back. If you're looking for a safe and trusted way to sell your firearms, look no further than Dury's Gun Shop. I trusted them to sell my dad's collection. They built their business for over 50 years on honesty and customer service. Dury's Guns will buy any size collection or estate, none too big or too small. Selling your firearms to Dury's Guns is easy. Go with the pros. I trust Dury's Guns. Dury'sGuns.com.
The XDM 3.8 Compact from Springfield Armory is 2 guns in 1. Use as your concealed carry gun with a compact magazine and use the extended magazine for home defense. Carry 13 rounds of 9mm in the compact magazine and a whopping 19 rounds in the extended magazine. To see the entire family of Springfield Armory XDM pistols, go to SpringfieldArmory.com. That's SpringfieldArmory.com.
The .45 Auto, also known as the 1911, is the standard other defensive pistols are measured against. No matter what pistol you carry, techniques developed around the 1911 are vital. You know you need training, and you know your concealed carry class definitely was not training. Now GUNTALK presents an exciting DVD, Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. Tiger's unique training style will have you drawing, moving, shooting, and running your gun better, no matter what style pistol you prefer. At ShopGunTalk.com, you can order our DVDs of Tiger's instruction. ShopGunTalk.com also has a 2-DVD set, including Concealed Carry 1. Get both for the information you know you need. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com has DVDs, books, and other essential gear. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
Oh, here's a tip for you. In the Don't Be That Guy category, I see lots of videos. I actually see a lot of people shooting. It's amazing to me how many people have such a bad grip on their pistols, on their handguns. One little giveaway, and weirdly enough, I actually see it in commercials from gun makers who, God, you'd think somebody at the company would know better. When you hold your pistol, say you're shooting right-handed, okay? You got the pistol in your right hand, you got two-handed grip. The index finger of your left hand, okay, so imagine your two-handed grip, does not go in front of the trigger guard. It wraps around underneath the trigger guard on top of your hand. So you got one hand on top of the other. But I forever see people putting that index finger of their left hand up in front of the trigger guard. I don't know why that's done that way, but it is, you know. Well, if you do that, you're losing part of the grip, the strength that you have. At least half, if not more than half, of the grip strength on your gun should be your offhand or your left hand if you're shooting right-handed. You're losing all that strength that you would have from that index finger. It's like drinking tea with your pinky finger out or something. It's just goofy. Besides that, you just look stupid. So, you know, if you don't want to do it because it'll make you shoot better, and if you don't want to do it because it gives you faster recovery time on target, and if you don't want to do it because it is a strong, reliable grip, then maybe you'll do it so you don't look so stupid at the range. Don't be that guy or that gal who just looks goofy. And anybody looking at you goes, clueless, putting that finger out there like that. Oh, heavenly days. Say, Mike's in Wichita, Kansas on line 3. Hello, Mike. You're on Gun Talk.
Hi. I had a question or a situation that happened to me, and I didn't know if your listeners had heard anything like this. Mm-hmm. About almost 26 years ago, I was in the middle of a divorce and had been asked to come over to the house to watch the kids. Make a long story a little shorter, I took the phone book off my wife's lap and the phone out of her hand, and I threw them down to the end of the couch. And I said, I'm leaving. And when she got herself to the hospital, she claimed that I had assaulted her. And I was arrested and was found guilty of misdemeanor assault. At the time, the going rate was $200 fine, a year of anger control management, and a year of probation.
I know where you're going, Mike. And now you got caught up by the Lautenberg Amendment, which was passed retroactively so that anybody in the history of the world in the United States of America who, before this thing was passed, has a domestic violence misdemeanor conviction, not only can you not carry a gun, I don't know if you're aware of this, you cannot legally own a firearm now.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It's a horrible law. It caught a lot of police officers in this because, to your point, back then, 20, 30 years ago, the lawyer would say to the man, say, look, this is nonsense. Make it go away. It's going to cost you $200. You know, even if it's totally bogus, rather than fight this and spend thousands of dollars to fight it, it's not a big deal. Just do it, sign it, it's good. Never realizing that 20 years later, there would be an amendment added to a bill by Frank Lautenberg, which makes it a lifetime sentence that with this misdemeanor charge that you agreed to, you no longer will be able to have a gun for the rest of your life. And a lot of cops lost their jobs over that because they couldn't handle firearms. This was passed retroactively. I don't know about if there's any way to get those rights back. Yeah.
Well, my situation at the time, if you got your record expunged, then that hid the crime, and you were allowed. Well, back in 2014, 10th Circuit Court of Appeals took up that case, and you'll have to bear with my interpretation of the law. But basically, they said although your sentence is hidden from the public, you're still guilty of a crime. Ruling stands. Correct. Under the Lautenberg.
The only thing I can think of that might get you out would be a pardon from the governor. But maybe somebody else knows about that. You know, but I'm glad you called. And look, I'm sorry for your situation. You and thousands of other men have been caught by this ridiculous and, frankly, I would almost consider it unconstitutional law. And I'm sorry for that, but it does remind me to look into this and see if anybody's doing anything on this, if anything can be done. And what I would love to be able to say is that, gee, if we could get the right person elected to the White House and we get control of Congress, we could get this undone. And look, thanks for the call, Mike. I can't imagine any congressman or senator standing up and saying, the way it would be portrayed by his enemies, would say, oh, so you want to give guns to domestic violence abusers. You want to give guns to men who beat their wives. Well, no, that's not exactly what we're saying. This is the only time that I'm aware of, the only instance in American law where a conviction on a misdemeanor charge cost you some of your constitutional rights for the rest of your life. I mean, if you get convicted of a felony, you lose your gun rights. But in this case, it's a misdemeanor that you may have agreed to 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago when your attorney just said, oh, yeah, this is not a big deal. Just pay the fine, make it go away. Now here you are. It's a mess. Hope others have not gotten caught on that one. 866-TALK-GUN. This is Gun Talk. Going straight to the phones, line one, Robert, Kingsville, Texas. What you looking for here, Robert?
Hey, Tom, I'm calling in reference to the gentleman who had the Rock River Arms upper, and he was going to put, I believe it was an ACOG, and he was looking for some backup irons.
Right.
I was just wondering what you thought about 45-degree offset irons. I've got a Night Force on my Bushmaster, and I put some 45-degree irons on it, and I'm not really happy with them. I was wondering if you liked the idea, if you had a manufacturer that you preferred.
Tell me why you're not liking it at this point.
The front sight post is loose. It's jiggly, and it was that way out of the box.
Dude, that's why they make JB Weld, you know?
Nah. That's a good idea.
Well, I would say a wobbly sight could be a problem, perhaps. Yes. First of all, let's talk about 45-degree sights. For those who don't know, we're actually mounting sights on a 45-degree angle on the Picatinny rail. And what you do is you're shooting scope, and then when you want to switch to irons, you rotate the gun 45 degrees, and the scope swings off to the side, and the iron sights line up. It's a way to go from shooting at distance to shooting up close. And that's done a lot with three-gun shooters like that. But which brand? I don't know. God, there's so many good brands of sights. Whichever one you have is probably not the one you want.
Right.
If you've got wobbly.
Yeah.
I would say, you know what you may want to do, seriously, though. If they came that way, send them back to the guys who made them and see if they can send you another set. Chances are they don't want them to be wobbly either, so get you a better set. But the 45-degree, it's like a lot of the stuff. It's personal preference. But I will say this, and you know this already, Robert, is that if you do decide, anybody decides to go to the 45-degree sights or the backup sights, practice, practice, practice. Empty gun, check it one more time, empty gun at the house. You're looking through the scope, then you roll it over, and you're focusing hard on the front sight, back to the scope, back to the, back and forth, back and forth. That's what it's going to take. All right, let's see here. Yes, we're going to get Michael in there. You're on line 2. Michael, I have very little time. Give me your range report, please.
Hey, Tom. So I just got into Ruger long-range precision shooting, and I started shooting on the Horus reticles on a Ruger precision rifle and 6.5 Creedmoor. And I think that's what I'm going to switch all my systems to is the Horus reticles now.
Why is that?
Well, the keeps your hands off of the dials a lot. I know when I first started shooting, I'd either overcompensate on the bullet compensation drop, and I think it's a lot faster. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but you got the reticles have almost a grid system on there, so you just almost use holdovers, and you don't have to touch the dials. It's
right. And of course, we've had that kind of reticle for a long time in various degrees, and it works for the most part. I guess when you start getting out in 800, 900, 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, I would submit you probably really do need to be dialing in. And the other thing, I'm going to throw this thought out. It's one of the things that makes long-range shooting, precision shooting, fun is learning how to do all that stuff, learning how to read the wind, learning what are the come-ups on your scope, dialing those in, spending time with it. Yes, close enough. Sometimes it's close enough, but a lot of times when you're out there, you make a mistake that's one MOA, and it's a miss at 1,000 yards. You're talking about 10 inches out there, depending on what you're shooting at. So I'm not saying that's not a good option for you, Michael, but I'm just saying that for a lot of people, the fun of long-range shooting is the challenge, and it's difficult learning how to do this. If you don't know how to do this, there are DVDs out there, but also you can go to some place like FTW Ranch or GUNTALK, someplace where they teach long-range shooting. There are a lot of places around the country. That's a fun deal. In fact, that's on my list, kind of one of my next up. Tell you what, speaking of next up, a guy who can really teach you how to avoid problems so you don't have to use those skills you develop.